Good morning everyone. Guess where I am today? Well, guess where I am for the next few days actually. I'm here in the city of Bristol where I'm currently staying at this wonderful hotel called the Washington, right in the heart of Clifton, the posh part of Bristol. And I'm going to take you for a little walk around Bristol city centre as I do this little vlog. Hope everyone's keeping well. Everyone's all good, doing good. So what we're going to do, we are going to go down the hill into Bristol city centre. And then down this shortcut, which takes us down towards the city centre itself. Now, I absolutely love Bristol. I love the city, I love its vibe, and I love its history. You've got all these wonderful old Victorian properties here, like something out of a Jane Austen novel. And what we're going to do, we're going to cut through this footpath here. This footpath which shortly comes out by the Victoria Rooms, which is this fine building here on the left. And then after that we'll go straight down Park Street, straight down the famous steep hill of Park Street into the city centre itself. Park Street, which connects Clifton with Bristol city centre. Now this is the part of the west end of Bristol, which we'll be coming to in a little while. This road here, this is Queen's Road. So that's Queen's Road there, looking towards Clifton. And that's looking towards the city centre. So we're coming to this little roundabout, but just before we do that, we're going to see this beautiful structure here. This is the Victoria Rooms, here in the heart of Clifton. Got to watch out for all these e-scooters everywhere, because that is the in thing in Bristol at the moment. So that is the Victoria Rooms, along with its famous fountain. And in the middle of the video there, that's the statue of King Edward VIII, Edward VII rather. Always get my kings and queens confused. So that's King Edward VII there. And that is the famous Victoria Rooms in its Grecian style with its columns. So that's Queen's Road over there. That road leading off on the left, that is White Ladies Road. Oh, there's a Bristol bus, that's on the number 8 route. That is the circular bus route there. All the bus routes operated in Bristol are operated by First Bristol or First West of England, or whatever you want to call them. So that's the number 8 route. That takes you round to Clifton before doubling back on itself and coming into Bristol city centre. So now we're shortly coming up to the Clifton Triangle. But before we do that, we'll explore a few other bits and pieces in this part of Bristol. This being the heart of the West End, where all the students hang out and stuff. That's the First World War memorial statue there. And we've got another First Bristol bus on Route 2 out to Cribs Causeway. These being new in 2015. So that bus will shortly be turning left into White Ladies Road as it goes towards Cribs Causeway, which is to the north of the city. All the buildings along here are all made out of sandstone, which is the local commodity in this part of the west of England. So very shortly we shall be coming towards the famous Clifton Triangle. So one of my favourite landmarks along here is this famous clock, the famous stone clock. which was actually put up in the 1960s, and it's still keeping time to this day, although it's an hour slow. There we are, there's another first Bristol bus over there on Route 1 heading into the city centre, and its first Bristol livery. Years ago the old Bristol buses used to be painted in green. Now they're painted in all sorts of colours. So this is Queen's Road. So this is the top end of the infamous Clifton Triangle. So we're going to be walking towards the city. There's some more famous sandstone buildings over there. So if you go that way, that takes you down towards Hotwells, etc. That way down there, that takes you towards Hotwells, and then this way takes you towards the city centre. Now look at these absolutely superb Victorian buildings here. And we can cross the road safely. So this is where all the students hang out. We have the University of Bristol. Yep, safe for us to cross. Oh, another first Bristol bus. Still in the old Barbie livery there. So now this is the main part of Queen's Road, where you have all the various shops and bars and restaurants, etc. So we're walking sort of southeastwards along Queen's Road. So this is the main road which connects Bristol city centre with Clifton. Do excuse the sound, there's a fire alarm, there's a Avon fire engine there. Oh, it's a burglar alarm, not a car alarm. Boom! So we're now walking along south-eastwards along Queen's Road. So now coming towards the heart of Bristol's West End. The hip and happening part of Bristol, of course. Coming up on the left, that's the Wills Memorial Building Tower of the University of Bristol. Have some superb buildings in this part of Bristol, and some superb pubs and restaurants, etc. So what we do, we're going to cross here. So this is the southern end of the Clifton Triangle. So if you go that way, that takes you down towards the likes of Hotwells and the Clifton Suspension Bridge. But we're heading into the city centre, so what we do, we go down this short hill. We can have a look at the Wills Memorial Building Tower in more detail, which is this absolutely fine structure here. So there's this direction sign there. So we're going towards College Green, which is where the City Hall is based. So this is the Wills Memorial Building Tower, one of the main icons of Bristol, alongside the Bristol University buildings and the main Bristol Library, which is that building there. Oh, we've got another bus on Route 1 heading out to Cribbs Causeway. So what I'll do, I'll take a video of this bus once it leaves. So there's another first Bristol bus. We've got an Enviro 400 on Route 2 going out to Cribbs Causeway. So what's amazing about this is if I zoom in, it says that this gift by Sir William Henry Wills was opened in 1904, built in 1904 by Henry Wills, one of the chief scholars of Bristol. and they built this amazing building in his honour and in his memory. So that's the Wills Memorial Tower there. So now we're heading towards Park Street, which is the top of this famous steep hill. This is the Wetherspoons pub, which is called the Berkeley, which is a good place where I go to have a bite to eat or some evening dinner whenever I am in Bristol. Big up the Berkeley pub. So we're now coming to the junction, the road junction with Park Row and Park Street. Now Park Row is that road that leads off to the left. Now we're going to the right towards Park Street itself at the top of this hill. So now come to the top of Park Street at the top of Bristol's West End, where there's an absolutely amazing view looking down towards the city. So if we just cross over, we can see the top of this steep hill. So this is Park Street. So I'll just zoom in slightly. So that's Park Street there, looking southeastwards towards the rest of the city. And then if you turn the camera around, there's the Wills Memorial Building Tower in all its majesty. Superb building. So what we'll do, we'll cross back over to the western side of Park Street as we head down this hill towards the city centre. Now Park Street, you've got all the various fashion shops, boutiques, pubs, restaurants, you name it, Park Street's got it. So we're heading down this very steep hill, so it's easy to walk down, but it can be a bit of a bugger to go up. But as we're going down, it's not such a bad thing. So the city centre's getting ever closer. So this turning on the right hand side, this is Charlotte Street rather. So this turning is Charlotte Street, and look at these beautiful houses. Looks just like something out of a Jane Austen novel. So that's Charlotte Street there. All these houses built in the 1840s, 1850s. All made out of sandstone, which is the local product here in this part of the west of England. So we're now heading south back along Park Street into the city centre as we continue our journey. Weather today has been a bit cloudy, but it's okay. Cloudy but fine, as long as it's not peeing down with rain. So yeah, walking down Park Street isn't too bad, it's the walking up which is a major problem. Now very shortly I'm going to show you something that's unique to Bristol. A very strange item of street furniture, which I'll explain. Now what we have here is one of these weird looking things. Now at first glance it looks like a fire hydrant or whatever, but this is actually an air vent for an underground electrical substation. So the access chamber is here to the substation, and this weird looking thing here is actually a ventilation panel. Now these are dotted around on various streets in and around Bristol. So that particular example is still there. Those vent things actually dating from the 1900s. Oh, we've got another Bristol bus coming. This time it's a street light on Service 8 or Route 8 up to Clifton, heading towards the Wills Memorial Building. So yeah, those ventilation things, they're quite prominent in the Bristol area, and they provide the ventilation for the underground electrical substations and transformers. So it lets all the heat from the transformers go out and it allows the fresh air to go in. There's another street there, that's Great George Street there, looking towards Brandon Hill Park. So as we slowly head down Park Street, the city centre is getting tantalisingly closer. So this is where all the bookshops are and all the stationery shops are for all the students who go to all the universities and college buildings in this area of Bristol. Got another First Bristol bus making its way up the hill. So what we'll do is we'll stop and we'll video that. It would be rude not to. This one is on Route 2, or Route 2A rather. That's going to Southmead. So all these beautiful sandstone buildings. Fine bit of Victorian architecture everywhere you go in Bristol. Now parts of Bristol were rebuilt following World War II, seeing as Bristol and its docks took a massive pounding during World War II. And unfortunately in the 1960s Bristol also suffered from the planning purges, where you had all the ugly modern buildings springing up everywhere, but thankfully most of these Victorian buildings still survive in one form or another. Oh yeah, that reminds me, talking of interesting things, there's a Banksy. I'll show you a Banksy, bit of Banksy artwork here. Bristol of course being Banksy's spiritual home, so I'll just cross over a bit lively. So here we have a Banksy, that's Frogmore Street down there, so you've got the old part of Bristol down there. But what I want to show you is this fantastic Banksy artwork, which is this bit of artwork here. This is a genuine Banksy artwork. So yeah, we're coming into Bristol's old city now. So yep, this is a genuine Banksy, no less. The wonders of Banksy. And as someone who enjoys his work, I get where he's coming from. I really love his work. He's one of Bristol's unsung icons, is Banksy, and at least now his name and his artwork are known the world over. Now what we're going to do, we're going to cross back up Park Street. So as you can see, there's the hill of Park Street there, which I've just come down from 5 minutes ago. Looking towards the Wills Memorial building of the university. So we're going to cross over and we're going to go have a look at this wonderful building here, which is the Council House, or Bristol City Hall as it's more commonly referred to, along with Bristol Cathedral, which is that structure there. So what we're going to do, we're going to walk through the park. This is College Green, which is an absolutely beautiful park here in the centre of Bristol. So this fine building here, this is Bristol City Hall, or the Council House as it used to be called. So this is the Town Hall of Bristol, Bristol City Council's Town Hall and Council Chambers. And this here is College Green with its beautiful array of grass and flowers. And it's nice to have College Green all to myself, because on a nice warm day, this area you get all the students and all the visitors and tourists. And it's an amazing little spot. I love this spot. So as you can see, there's the cathedral over there, Bristol Cathedral. So now heading southeasterly again. There's another street light coming up on Route 72, which is one of the routes for the University of the West of England. And you've got this fantastic little church just here, this superb little church there with its architecture. So we'll just cross over this greeny bit. So yeah, that's Park Street there. I'll just zoom in again. Get that 72 bus climbing up Park Street. So that's Park Street looking northwestwards towards the Wills Memorial Building Tower at the top of the hill there. And normally on a Saturday this road is very, very busy with cars and shoppers and things. But as it's a weekday, it's all nice and quiet, and it's only just gone after 9 in the morning, so it's still quite early in the day. So there we go. So that's Park Street, where I've just come from the very top. We're going to zoom out again, and I'm going to continue my journey into the city centre, where I'll show you the rest of the Bristol City Hall there in all its finery. This building, which was built in 1928, along with its little pond and its gardens. So what we're going to do, we're going to see another statue of a local legend connected with Bristol, in the form of Queen Victoria, who was a regular visitor to Bristol when she was the reigning monarch of the United Kingdom between 1837 and 1901. So we'll see a statue dedicated to her memory just coming up around the corner, just after where these trees are. Hello. So just coming up to this statue just here of Queen Victoria herself, outside the Marriott Bristol Hotel. So this is the statue of Queen Victoria. The statue of Queen Victoria in all her finery. So originally this used to be the main road that used to go out to the west of the city. So you've got the cathedral over there, and you've got these fine buildings here as well. You've got the Marriott Bristol Royal Hotel, which is this superb Victorian building here, as you can see. And of course you've got the statue of Queen Victoria on her little plinth, surrounded by these cast iron bollards. So now we're coming into Bristol city centre. So we keep walking down this hill, and then very shortly we will be coming towards the Floating Harbour and the Harbourside buildings. So now we're coming up to the centre, as it's known. We have a Badger Line bus down there in its green and yellow livery. But what we're going to do, we're going to cross at this junction, which still has the old Mellor traffic lights from the 1970s, still doing their job. Good old Mellor traffic signals there. So now we're coming into the centre, which is this part of Bristol here. Just here we have a South West England ambulance there. Now ambulances are a very interesting connection with Bristol, our ambulances, because back in the 1980s up to the mid-90s, Bristol was where they filmed the TV series Casualty at the fictitious Holby Hospital, where Bristol city centre was used as the fictional city of Holby. Now this is the Harbourside, where we're coming up to in a little while. So this is actually the part of the Floating Harbour in Bristol, along with this little fountain and steps. And this is one of the original Harbourside buildings, which is now host to various restaurants and bars and things like that. But years ago it was where all the ships used to dock and undock all their produce and things from all around the world. So this bit here, this is looking towards the north, towards the city centre, so we're practically in the city centre right now. So years ago this used to be a gardens, but underneath this pavement, underneath this area is actually water, because it's actually the remainder of the Floating Harbour which comes all the way from here. So all this water here flows underneath this bit here, all the way up to where those trees are. And then you've got Beacon Tower, which used to be called Colston Tower. but has since been renamed Beacon Tower because Edward Colston was connected with the slave trade in the 1700s, and that is part of history that wants really Bristol to be eradicated from. We can't get rid of history, but we can learn from it. We've got a nice big seagull here. Hello, Mr. Seagull. We have Stephen Seagull. Look at that, film star quality. Zoom in on him even more. There he is. Look at that. He's a handsome chappy, isn't he? He's probably going to run off with somebody's chips later on. You can guarantee it. He's got that look in his eyes saying, yeah, I'm going to steal your chips because I'm that sort of bird. So we've got the seagulls, who are like the chavs of the bird world, so he's ready to pounce on someone at some point. And then you've got the main bus interchange along here as well, so there's lots of buses and things to play with. Mostly all these modern First Bristol buses. So along here you've got all the major bus routes which terminate at this spot. Buses of different colours, some 2 decks, some 1 deck. And then you've got these fine maroon buses over there with the city lines, Enviro 400 cities. So they're the newest buses being introduced about a couple of years ago. So what we're going to do, we're going to walk down to the Harbourside, down towards M Shed, and then I shall stop the video for a little while and then I shall post another vlog later. But at the moment, this is where I've come down from, so that leads up to Park Street and the west end of Bristol. Oh, look, a yellow bus. Lots of buses everywhere, boys and girls. Buses in different colours. Down the Harbourside. And look what we've got here. We've got one of the old boys where they used to raise money for all the sailors' trusts and stuff. You used to put money in these things. These are the old cast iron buoys which used to float around in the harbour. So this one is still with us, along with its all connections and rods and things. It's nice to see little bits of history around Bristol. That's what I love about Bristol. You've got a lot of history, and like London, you've got the ancient and the modern, and they still work in perfect harmony. And then you've got the statue of King Neptune. That's still here. That used to be located round the corner, and then they moved it over here. We've got the famous King Neptune statue and things. So now what we're going to do, we're going to walk under these beautiful London plane trees, or should that be Bristol plane trees, towards the Harbourside, where they've got the M Shed Museum, along with the Bristol Harbour Railway, which uses a steam locomotive and a couple of wagons where you can actually travel on them along the harbour, hauled by a little 060 steam locomotive. So very shortly we shall be coming towards the Harbourside as we walk along here, which looks a bit like a Parisian boulevard, but we're actually in the heart of Bristol city centre. And on a nice warm day, this is the place to be, just to cool off under these beautiful trees. Bristol being a city which was built in the late 1700s and early 1800s, and like every other city in Britain, it was damaged particularly in World War II. So there's a lot of modern-ish buildings. You've got this ugly 1960s eyesore here, which is actually a multi-storey car park, but the architecture on that leaves a lot to be desired, unfortunately. So that's one of Bristol's, well, how can I put it, not very popular buildings in terms of their design. But we shall not worry about that. We shall go down to the harbour and the Harbourside, and hopefully the old M Shed. So we've got a little footbridge that goes over the Floating Harbour here. This is called Perrow's Bridge, or Perrow's Bridge. It's Perrow's actually. It's pronounced Perrow, P-E-R-O. and that connects this side with the modern Harbourside buildings and things, which were rebuilt. Well, most of them were built, and the area being regenerated back in the mid-2000s. And as a result, this bridge was built, which is called Perrot's Bridge. So what we're going to do now, we're just going to head south alongside the Floating Harbour towards the M Shed and the Harbour Railway. So that's Perrot's Bridge over there. That's Perrot's Bridge, so that's looking west. You've got all these lovely old cobbles here, and you can see where the roots of the trees have interfered with the pavement. That's the thing about Bristol, there's a lot of these cobbled streets around, and there's a lot of large trees with large roots everywhere, which is interesting, but it's a bit of a pain in the arse for some people who are blind or visually impaired because of the texture and the rough lumpage everywhere. As you can see, we've got a nice cobble street here, which reminds me of the end credits to The Bill back in the 80s and 90s. Yeah, you get the idea with that. So here we come to the harbour. So there's the amphitheatre over there on that corner. That's Cannon's Marsh on that corner. Here we've got an old access cover there. BDC, Bristol District Council, I believe. So that's an old Victorian access cover there. Have a few pigeons. Hello, pigeon. And then just here we have the famous Arnolfini Art Gallery, which is this building here. Famous Arnolfini Art Gallery and visitor centre, etc. So we're still following these cobbles, and very shortly we shall be coming into M Shed and the Bristol Harbour itself. It's a lovely place to go, especially in the summer when you get all the visitors and everything. So we're going to go over the swing bridge, which is never used anymore now. So looking over there, that in the distance there, that steeple, that spire, that is the steeple of St Mary Redcliffe Church. So that's the district of Redcliffe over there. And if you zoom in, you see all the different coloured houses of Redcliffe. So that's looking east towards St Mary Redcliffe Church. So now we're about to cross over the swing bridge. So we've got this fantastic view of the harbour. So that's the harbour over there with the old cranes. The old cranes and dockyard and everything. So this is where all the ships used to load and unload their wares from all over the world. So what we do now, we're going to go over the little swing bridge, which is this little bridge here. So this swing bridge used to move around to allow shipping movements to take place when the docks really was the docks back in the 40s, 50s and early 60s. So we're heading south. So if we look east now, that's that view there, that's looking towards Redcliffe. So that's St Mary Redcliffe Church over there in the distance. There's a Bristol City Council Refuse Department van there, carrying all the litter from all the bins, and an ambulance just leaving there. Hopefully no one's been taken ill. And very shortly I'm going to show you the little railway, the Bristol Harbour Railway, and the remains of the railway line which used to connect the docks with Bristol Temple Mead Station. So we've got these railway lines here. So there used to be a level crossing along here. So that's the Harbour Railway there by the cranes. Now where that van's going, just along there, which is now a footpath, that is now a footpath, but years and years and years ago there used to be the railway line. The railway line used to continue all the way towards Bristol Temple Mead Station, but it finally closed in the early 60s when the dock traffic started to be less and less. So all that remains now are these tracks here, which form part of the Bristol Harbour Railway. As you can see, a steam locomotive dumped its fire down here. So this is the railway line where the Bristol Harbour Railway runs. So it is open to the public, so you've got a little steam locomotive, and what it does is it hauls about 2 or 3 little wagons where you travel on board the wagons up and down the harbour. So I've got these fantastic old cranes which are a reminder of Bristol's commercial past. So this being the main docks, so along here is the new cut of the River Avon. So we're now running along the old docks, as it were. So all the ships used to sail up and down the River Avon. Look at this, all the old point work from all these railway tracks is still there. Still in situ. Even got this little slip crossing here. So there you go. We've got a nice view over there towards the city. It's got a beautiful view there, so that's looking towards the city centre, that's looking north, so that's where I was earlier on. So that's looking northwest. You've got the amphitheatre building here. So you've got the main cut of the Floating Harbour, which is here, and you've got this wonderful old boat here called the Balmoral, which was registered in Bristol. You've got all these superb old ships and boats and everything as a reminder of Bristol's war to the past. So what we'll do, I'm going to turn off the video in a couple of minutes, but I'll just keep on going along here, and then I'm going to go inside M Shed. But before I do that, I'll just show you this lovely old ship here, which is powered by sails. So I'm actually walking on the route of the Bristol Harbour Railway itself. What I might do, I might show you the steam locomotive. So what I'll do, I'll come to this boat first, and then I shall turn off by looking at the steam train. So this is a lovely old ship here, look at that, called the Matthew. One of the ships which was powered by sail. And you've got one of the old cast iron capstans here for the ships to use. And as you can see, it says a large granary stood on the site of where M Shed is. So that's the M Shed building there. A lot of this area got rebuilt over the past 20 odd years, but it's so nice we have all these connections to what was here before. So M Shed was built in 2009. So this is the Matthew. This little sailing ship here is called the Matthew. So that's it there. Look at that, you've got a little greyhound, or a whippet, as the figurehead of the ship. Just zoom in on it. So this is the Matthew. There's a crow's nest up there where the lookout used to be. And all this was all powered by sail. Superb bit of craftsmanship, this boat. So very shortly we'll just come to the steam train, which runs up and down along this railway. So that's looking towards the direction of Hotwells over there. Hotwells at the bottom of the hill, and Clifton on the top of the hill with its multicoloured houses. So this is where the Bristol Harbour Railway runs along. So to think that back in the 40s, 50s and 60s, this railway line used to be very busy, where it connected the main line at Bristol Temple Mead Station with the docks. So along here we have some of the old railway wagons which used to run on this branch. Hopefully we'll see the steam locomotive. There we go, we've got the old points lever there. Wow. Good old points lever there. Made by Tyre and Company Limited, London and Carlisle, and it still works. The old Victorian point lever there. That's how the trains were guided back in the day along this branch line on the docks. This is one of the other dockside cranes which used to unload all the items from the railway wagons and put it on the docks. So this is Prince's Wharf, so you've got one of the old cranes here. So that's one of the wagons. Oh, there's the wagons here. So we've got the railway wagons and the old Great Western Railway brake van. You've got the rest of the railway that used to go into the siding there. So we'll just look at these little railway wagons first, and then we shall sign off for the moment. So on the left hand side we've got one of the old Great Western Railway single-ended brake vans. So you've got the old GWR brake van here. So this was no doubt probably built at Swindon Works back in the 1920s and 1930s. The old Great Western Railway, or to all the enthusiasts, God's wonderful railway as it was. So that's the remainder of the sidings, which are still here, although they're not used as such. Got a very posh looking boat here. The misconduct, haha, I like that. And it's even got a little helicopter as well. So someone's got a little bit of money today. Someone's decided to dock here. So yeah, so you've got this little single-ended brake van. So this is the next Great Western Railway brake van. So probably this will be in use later in the afternoon when the steam train gets going. Because this is quite early in the morning, so there's not that many people about. So we've got the typical Great Western Railway single-ended brake vans. Now they're quite unusual because all the other railways used to have double-ended brake vans, but the Great Western Railway always had single-ended brake vans. But as usual, it's a 20-ton brake van, which was the weight they normally carried to stop any goods trains from going adrift. So there you got the rest of the Harbour Railway and the sidings with their various wagons. So I'll just come to them and then I'll sign off, because the video is now 41 minutes long and I don't want to bore you too much. I'll just come to some of these wagons and then I'll sign off and give you another vlog later in the day, as and when I see fit. So just coming to these old wagons here. So we've got this little four-wheel wagon here, B and D of Avonmouth Docks. So we've got a standard little 12-ton wagon there, made entirely out of wood. So all these wagons and things used to run along up and down this line to the main line with various perishables and consumer goods and all that sort of thing. Even got an old vented wagon here as well, one of the old North Eastern Railway wagons, which is that thing there. So they were ventilated wagons. You've got the ventilator bit on the top of the end there, that's where the air used to come in. So we've got a nice mixture of all these old wooden wagons, which have long since gone from use on the main line, but they still survive along here. So this view is looking east, and then I'll just sign off here with Brunel's Buttery, Isambard Kingdom Brunel, who's always been locally connected with Bristol. There's the misconduct boat, very nice it looks too. And then over there you've got the view looking towards Clifton and Hotwells. Hotwells with its multicoloured houses there over on the hill. So that view there, that's looking westwards. What I'll do, I'll just zoom out. And then this view's looking eastwards towards Redcliffe, etc. And the ever-changing skyline in Bristol. That's Cannon's Marsh there on the opposite side of the Floating Harbour. So what I'll do, I'm going to sign off for the moment. Hope you enjoyed this little impromptu view around Bristol, courtesy of my vlogs, and all being well, I shall catch you soon. What I'll do, I'll just leave you with these two little barges there. You've got the little river boat there which sails up and down the harbour with guided tours of the harbour. It is sailing away there, look at that. The battle of the boats. So that's the harbour ferry there, which takes you up and down the various stops along the harbour. you have one of the little houseboats there, a little barge there. Always nice to see houseboats and barges along this part of the floating harbour. Yeah. So what I'll do, I'm going to say farewell to you for the time being, and hopefully I'll catch you on another vlog. So I shall say goodbye for now, and I shall say ta for the like.